Adam here, So Wizard Podcast. I have a really cool video for you today. I had the opportunity to check out the new Amazon Prime original series, Reacher, based on the character Jack Reacher, the book The Killing Floor by Lee Child. You might have seen the not-so-great Tom Cruise movies. Well, those are being erased. Some people here at So Wizard are going to be very happy about that. I don't really mind Tom Cruise overall, but those movies just didn't do it, and he was all wrong for it. The series Reacher follows Jack Reacher, ex-army, giant mountain of a person, who's going to the small town in Georgia after getting word from his brother to check something out. I don't want to dive into spoilers. I'm not going to be diving into case details because this is kind of a mystery, kind of a police procedural type story. The cast is pretty good. Alan Ritchson, hopefully I said that right, plays Jack Reacher. He's the titular character, of course. Physically, I mean, the guy's there. He's huge, he's jacked, he's everything that Lee Child said Jack Reacher should be. I haven't read Killing Floor, but I know that was a big complaint from the Tom Cruise movies. He has the physical presence. His acting is alright. And that kind of alright, a little better than average, is sort of the theme of my video here for this show, which I feel a little bit bad in saying, but we'll get to it as we go. Malcolm Goodwin, you might recognize. He plays a character called Finlay. He's kind of the liaison. I think there's going to be this frenemy, to use a dated TV expression that I despise, going forward. There's Willa Fitzgerald, who's the obvious first choice out of love interest for Reacher as we get into it. One cast member I was really looking forward to seeing in this, Kristen Curick, who you might recognize from Smallville, if for no other reason than when I was a teen watching Smallville. I had the hugest crush on her because she's adorable. Anyway, let's move right on to Reacher. I was actually pretty excited for this show to come out. If I didn't get a screener, it's one that I had planned on watching anyway. I think, from what I know about the property, which is limited, I have not read the source stuff, there's a lot to do there. It could be very cool. I like the concept of the character. I like that he's not all muscle, but he's got a brain. He does some investigations, but he can still kind of kick ass when he needs to. I was all in on it, got the screeners that made it even better. I planned on just diving through all 8 episodes in, 1 or 2 days and just giving you the full lowdown, spoiler-free, of course. But as I got into it, my enthusiasm kind of waned. And don't turn off the video and just write the show off yet, because overall, it is good. It's just not great. And maybe this is a case where it's going to find its footing, because full disclosure, I did not watch the entirety of the first season. There's nothing out and out bad about Reacher. There's nothing I was watching that I was like, oh, not this character again. Oh, they're doing this thing again. Oh, it's all fine. It's all, in the just above average range. I mean, it feels kind of like a network TV procedural, those things that I feel entertainment's been moving away from, at least maybe people in my age group, younger, we're all on streaming things, we're all looking for something with a little bit more, some more continuity, some more carrying on storylines, which is something I have to give Reacher a lot of credit for. In the first episode, I was certain this was going to wrap up with a neat little bow at the end, and then they were going to be on to the next adventure and the next one, and it would just be kind of the case of the week thing as the episodes trickle out. That was not the case, and I'm very happy. There is an overarching plot. There is an overarching case. It's not just 45 minutes, everything's resolved, this is awesome, let's move on. I'm much happier with it having a bit more depth, so definitely credit there. That is something that I can give a high recommendation to. But the rest of it just feels like one of those trope procedurals you'd see on NBC or something, 10 years ago. You know what you're getting into, it's kind of soft. Reacher being on a streaming network, it's more like if it was on premium cable 10 years ago, where it has a bit more teeth. The violence can show a bit more than you'd see on TV, and there was, I think, one F word probably just because they could. I mean, they're just stretching it that much more. There is going to be some formula to it, and of course, it's a TV series. Everything has to have its elements, and it has to get the job done. So it does look like there's going to be the immediate thing to the case, the overall story of Reacher, and in every episode, we're going to get a bit of who Reacher is, what's Reacher after, a look into his past, and then, those case items that I was talking about. And that's fine, but it also feels like within the episodes, at least in the beginning part of the season, they're a little uneven on where they allot that time. There's some time spent on things, maybe an action scene that doesn't seem entirely necessary, maybe a big setup for something that doesn't quite feel like it pays off, maybe they're going for a joke, something that they kind of stretch out, nothing ridiculous, you know, a couple minutes, but they stretch it out a bit more, and then other things that pertain to exactly why one of the main characters is doing something important to move the plot forward is one quick line of dialogue. You're in, you're out. If, you know, your kid's screaming in the background, your dog barks, you sneeze, you might miss it, and then you're questioning it and you have to fill it in later. That happened more than a few times in the first couple episodes, and I was not really distracted. I was sitting down and watching the show. Maybe I was just an idiot and couldn't follow the plot. You know, I got there eventually, but it just seemed like maybe take a little bit of that wasted time away from some of the less important things and put it onto some of the more important things without just doing an exposition dump and spelling it out in crayon and block letters. I kind of alluded to it before, mentioned it a little bit, that Alan Ritchson's acting was fine. Not great, not bad, fine. That was kind of everybody in the same vein. And the one thing I'm thinking that maybe it's not the actor's fault, because everyone kind of sounded the same, was you see these novel-to-movie adaptations, and all the dialogue is like, you know, whip smart and snappy, and it's this thing. It's almost like an Aaron Sorkin script to a way. Like, if you watch an Aaron Sorkin movie, I think he's a brilliant writer, I'm super into it, but I understand why people aren't, because an Aaron Sorkin movie sounds like an Aaron Sorkin movie. An Aaron Sorkin character sounds like an Aaron Sorkin character, and there's not individual voices for each person. And the dialogue is smart and snappy and witty like that. And there is some of that in Reacher, but it doesn't reach that level of cleverness, that level of wit, and that tempo. It doesn't stay on track. It kind of goes off beat a little bit and never quite lands. And to me, it came across as a bit wooden. I mean, Reacher's an intelligent guy, and he'll break down how he noticed certain things, and it's like a Sherlock Holmes level attention to detail. And he'll tell a joke, and he'll be sarcastic, and he'll be threatening, and he'll be rude, and he'll do it all in the exact same tone, and you're not really sure what's what, except in context of the conversation. I'm hoping that the actor kind of finds his footing and finds the character. Maybe it'll take until season 2. But I found the look of the show was odd. You know, it's shot in high def, and it's shot in Georgia. I'm pretty sure it was shot on location. So it had some nice scenery and things like that. It wasn't the actual technical aspects of it. I mean, the camera work was competent. It wasn't making you dizzy. It wasn't a handycam. It wasn't walking all over the place. But it felt like everything was in almost like a haze or a soft focus, and that there was this weird orange filter over everything. That might just be a product of Georgia's heat and humidity. I don't know exactly when this was filmed, but I know it gets crazy hot and humid down there. Or maybe they were just putting a filter on to try to sell the heat and humidity. I'm not really sure, but it didn't quite come together. And this is something to take with a grain of salt. Same with the audio mix that I'm about to get into, because I'm watching it on screeners. But it just never felt crisp, and it never felt like the colors were right. And that's kind of the same deal with the audio. And a lot of audio gets compressed in screeners, which is why for the movies I really like, I still buy them. I don't like the compressed audio. And this one felt like not only was the picture a little bit in a haze, but the audio was a little bit in the mud. And I'm willing to go out on a limb and say that's probably, because of the screener, they're probably keeping their bandwidth down and making sure people can access it easier. I'm hoping it gets fixed up for the final release. I can't really talk about Reacher without talking about the action. And this is not an action show. From the little bit I saw, it doesn't even have as much action as the Jack Ryan series, which follows basically an auditor who ends up in the field. Jack Ryan's a great series, by the way. Where there is action, it's pretty cool. It doesn't have as many jump cuts as the old Bourne movies, but it's also not like up there with John Wick. But I mean, aside from John Wick and The Raid, what is? So that's not really a fair bar. There's one fight scene in particular in the first episode where you can kind of really see what Jack Reacher does, and it looks like they made it to be a showcase of what he can do. And yeah, he's a giant guy, and that is a lot of his style, for lack of a better word. He kind of bum rushes people and hits them, but he was also, you know, trained by the army. He's obviously capable. There's even a flashback where him and his brother, as kids, are about to get in a fight, and they're super confident about it. So he knows how to handle himself, and you do get glimpses of that too. And then they take it a little bit further, and there's a little bit of brutality added. You know, little minor spoiler for this episode, but there is an eye gouge during kind of one of the punches, and it's really cool. It's not super gratuitous, but it just takes it to that little bit of an extra level, and honestly, I appreciated it. I wanted something to kind of shock me out of my light complacency with watching this show. Hopefully, all of this helps inform your opinion on whether you should be watching Reacher or not. I know everything I said was, hey, this was cool, but, hey, this kind of sucked, but, and I just really felt like I couldn't make up my mind. But I think that is that the show was just that kind of 50-50. I will say it's on the better side of average. I'd give it, a 3.5 out of 5 if we were doing a scoring for it, which I don't really like doing, especially not with having watched the entire first season. But I'm just want to hammer that point home that this is nothing outstanding. This is nothing you haven't seen before. This is not going to change how you see Amazon Studios or a streaming show or a series like this, but it could entertain you. I personally plan on watching the show. I did watch the first couple with my wife, and she kind of tapped out. Not that she hated it, but she just wasn't really doing anything for her, and she's a little bit of a difficult audience. She'll be the first one to admit it. So if that's where you fall, maybe Reacher's not the one for you. If you're looking for something new, you could definitely do worse than watching Reacher. I'm a little sad to report it this way because this is one I was really looking forward to and I thought would be, maybe not show of the year, but something I'd really like and I'd be able to recommend everybody. Especially when I got the screener, I was excited to talk it up to you guys. And it just kind of, it's there. I'm going to watch it, but I'm going to watch it when I watch it. I'm not rushing back downstairs right now to finish the season. And that just that's the reality of it. Well, thanks for watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. I have a lot more new movie coverage, a lot more screeners. I have more unboxings to do. I got more interviews. We're ramping that up again. So a lot of stuff coming your way you're not going to want to miss out. Speaking of not wanting to miss out, make sure you listen to So Wizard Podcast every single week wherever you get your podcasts. So Wizard Podcast can also be found on Patreon, where for as little as $1 a month you get multiple monthly bonus shows. SoWizardPodcast.com is your resource for reviews, recommendations, merchandise, videos, and more. We love hearing feedback, so drop some note in the comments, leave us something on social media. All of our accounts can be found after the show and in the show notes. On a more personal note, a really good friend and I have an ongoing comedy comic series. I am terrible at marketing, but the comic is called Social Studies. We're trying to get the word out there. The people who are reading it are having a ton of fun with it, so join in, see what all the fun is about, and please tell your friends. As I said, I'm terrible at marketing, but we're working on it. You can find it all at socialstudiescomic.com. Thanks.